This is why I'm talking about, like, chat. This is why I am fucking telling you this doesn't stop with Gaza. This doesn't stop with pro-Palestinian sentiment. This doesn't stop with anti-genocide protests. Every single thing that they're saying, literally all factors against picketing, okay? It's just, you can't strike. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. Now let's get back to what America is doing in this process. NYU also came out with a statement saying that they're adding Zionism and Zionist into their hate speech. Zionist is now a protected class at NYU. College administrators spent summer break dreaming up new ways to squash Gaza protesters. New York University students who speak out against Zionism will now risk violating the school's non-discrimination policies. That's what America is doing. And yeah, I saw Mehdi Hasan's argument yesterday about the Bedouin Israeli citizen that Hamas had held captive for 10 months that was recently rescued yesterday. And I saw the exact opposite thing that he saw. To those who still make excuses for Hamas actions on October 7th, a reminder that Hamas has no problem taking even a Muslim Bedouin grandfather hostage and then refusing to release him. Hostage taking is a war crime. I don't really understand what argument he's trying to make here. What I saw from that was that this is not sure I follow this line of argument. The point of the Palestinians have been making is that this is a political battle with religious dimensions, but not a religious battle wholly and entirely. Why would favoring an Arab Muslim make them somehow more consistent? Al-Qadi is an Israeli citizen. Therefore, his captivity is a bargaining chip to release Palestinian hostages in Israeli prisons who do not hold such citizenship. This isn't rocket science. The strategy is fairly obvious. Liberal identity politics do not factor into this. Exactly. Lawns that can't be used, benches that can't be sit on, foreign nations that aren't allowed to be criticized. Universities would rather sterilize their own campuses in the non-functional backdrops than have any kind of discussion about Israel. Welcome to NYU, class of 2029. I hope you don't want to sit outside because here at NYU, these fenced-off benches are being guarded by 5 security guards, 3 union members, 2 subcontractors to protect them from your free speech. They are doing everything they can to stop any kind of public display against Israel. They're like, nope, you cannot criticize this foreign nation that is currently doing a genocide. In terms of like combating against anti-genocide protests, it has straight up gotten worse than the last multiple cycles of student protests, whether it be against the Vietnam War, whether it be against the South African apartheid. It almost feels like those in positions of power learned from those lessons in terms of not losing that battle and now are doing this shit. I do think back to school fascism will backfire. Making it against the rules to sit on the lawn is kind of the thing that the dean from Animal House would do. Penn installed a monument to honor me and my confidants. We smiled. When Cesaire's Imperial Boomerang returns, they'll attempt to pay us to do speeches, and we'll say, this too ain't reparations. No trespassing. All UPenn rules and policies apply. Events, demonstrations, rallies, protests, and large gatherings require prior university approval. Prohibited behavior includes overnight occupation of structures, amplified sound without prior university approval, possessions of weapons or hazardous materials. It's crazy. Where are all the free speech advocates now? Gonzaga University changed its protest policy after students held Gaza protests. A part of the reason, and I think a chatter also mentioned it, is that college campuses have become increasingly more financialized since the last time those protests occurred. And as financial institutions, they have a vested interest in the continuation of Israel's apartheid regime. So when students actually demand divestment, that actually eats away at their profit motive. That actually eats away at the endowments that they have that are massive financial vehicles for them. That is also another reason. McDonald's obviously would not sit around and allow people to protest eating fucking beef, right? To them, this is an existential crisis, having their own students protest against these college campuses. Ironic because on the other side, they try to educate this new class of incoming freshmen on certain key principles like genocide and being against such thing. I do not understand how we do not see as Americans where we are headed towards, what we are headed towards in terms of fascism. That is what is going on. It's not just about Muslims not being considered humans, okay? Because It might be Palestinian Americans today that are being effectively monitored. It might be those who are aligned with Palestinians that are monitored and their freedom of speech is removed. But there is no reason why, there is no guarantee that this will not extend to others. It already is being extended to others. Plenty of Jewish anti-Zionist protesters are also getting caught up in this. And as material conditions worsen for people, as you see more young men find themselves in the throes of right-wing radicalization, it feels quite a bit like 1930s Germany up in these parts. Palestinian students at Columbia University are hosting a Palestine 101 teaching at a local park off campus. NYPD cars are circling the park. Groups of police officers are surveilling students wearing keffiyehs just for teaching about Palestinian culture. More police budgets, more police surveillance, more unique ways of stopping people from hurting the feelings of a foreign nation state and its plans to wipe out an entire population of people. Incredible. Incredible stuff overall. By the way, this could be an October surprise for the election. I swear to God, Fox News is watching my fucking stream.
There you hear it. Pro-Palestinian chants ringing out in Cornell this week, Cornell University at the library there, echoing the horror scene across college campuses last spring. Now, universities are bracing for a potential new wave of protests. Joining us now, Fox News contributor and former retired NYPD inspector and lawyer Paul Morrow. So they're not shy about telling everybody, like, we're going to do these protests. Like this fall, the protesters intend to bring...
Yeah, the horror scene. It is horrific. It is horrific to me that there are young Americans in some of the top institutions of higher learning in this country that have learned some of these principles that they're teaching in class, like genocide is unconscionable. Okay? Horror scenes. Will you go to the protest again if it happens? Fuck yes. Abso-fucking-lutely. 100%. I am fully in support of the student movement, the anti-genocide movement across the board. I think that the students should absolutely protest once again like they did. They should. It is their right to do so. They absolutely should do so. I don't just think that these student protests will happen and it might become like a point of contention. I want it to be that way because people forget very quickly in our fucking media cycle. Okay? People forget the atrocities that are happening. Your coverage showed the press was misrepresenting the protest. It doesn't matter. I'll still be there no matter what. I'll still be doing that. Okay? What do you say to shit libs who say why did the protest stop over the summer? There's no school. Oh, the UC system like completely fucking banned it too. My biggest fear as a Palestinian is that people will stop thinking this is cool. Yeah, I know. The Kamala Brat summer momentum. You didn't protest. You didn't even get arrested. I'm disappointed in my son. This is such a funny line from dudes who are like obviously not pro-Palestinian at all. Okay? Would you go fight for Palestine? How can you support the party doing this, bro? This guy's a scumbag. Austin is trash. Just coming in here and being like, dude, you didn't even get arrested, dude. Would you go support Palestine with, hey, comrade, won't you rise up in arms against the violent imperialist American state? Let's do some direct action. Dude can't even fake being pro-Palestine. Lamau, I know. What do you say to people who say the protests are disrupting other students' education and classes? Fucking bullshit, dude. Bull fucking shit. It's not. That's just a lie to try to fucking squash free speech from happening. Okay? That's all it is. Hey, comrade, I have a stash of tannerite at these coordinates. And also a bunch of weapons. Would you like to go pick them up? Which actions constitute protected free speech? Question number 10. Organizing a rally in Quarry Plaza, a public university space. Protesters blocking access to campus. A student sitting at the chancellor's office. A group of protesters disrupting a class that is in session. What speech is protected? Joining a class online and repeatedly making comments that disrupt the professor from teaching. Posting flyers or posters in a non-public space without university authorization. Posting flyers or advertisement approved university public posting spaces. Blocking access to a building or the university in general while engaging in otherwise protected activities such as picketing or demonstrating. For the record, a lot of this stuff also is non-Palestine related too. I just want you to understand, like, when they say this is a no-no, they mean like striking is a no-no. You understand that, right? This is why I'm talking about, like, chat. This is why I am fucking telling you this doesn't stop with Gaza. This doesn't stop with pro-Palestinian sentiment. This doesn't stop with anti-genocide protests. Every single thing that they're saying that you cannot do because you're anti-Semitic, because you're fucking saying genocide is unconscionable, you're hurting Israel's feelings. It's the most moral democracy on the planet. It's the best military on the planet. Literally all factors against picketing, okay? It's just, you can't strike. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, okay? A lot of people don't fucking comprehend this. It will come for you as well. If you right now think, those are Palestinians, I don't give a shit. They're far away. Who gives a fuck? Oh, man, these students, like, they're making me feel bad. I just want to fucking, enjoy my brass summer, whatever, okay? One day, you are going to have a cause. If you do not care about this, I mean, this community is the worst place to say this because everyone obviously in here cares about this. But like one day there is going to be a cause that you do care about. This will affect all communities. No BLM protests, no pro-choice protests, no Me Too protests, no protests against far-right goons either.
The pain to the universities.
Yeah, in some instances, this has already started. They've done some vandalism. There's been some protests up at Columbia, which seems to be sort of becoming ground zero for this stuff.
Arrests are being made at the University of Michigan.
Things already happened. For instance, pro-Israel groups have already protested in March, demanding that the protesters on the other side unmask themselves. Why? Because New York City is concerned about this, and they may be passing a law that protesters can't keep their masks on. So all this stuff now is going very much into the legal realm because Columbia had to settle a class action suit guaranteeing that students could get in and out of class. So it's going to happen. It's coming.
Also, this is precisely the reason why early on in October, when motherfuckers were coming and chirping at me about like from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is actually anti-Semitic, and it's scary. Even if they don't say it, they don't want any kind of protest whatsoever. It was yet another way, another insidious way in which it was actually to make every kind of anti-Israel sentiment be completely removed from public spaces, okay? Because at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with like people's fears or anything. It has everything to do with you hurting Israel's feelings, okay? Big bad Israel's feelings cannot be hurt. It must be protected above all else.
It's going to be in the legal world. It's going to be on the street. But as you and I saw at the DNC, it's not just about Gaza. And I think that's something that a lot of our viewers might not understand is that, yeah, it is there. The primary cause here is the Gaza issue, without any nuance, by the way. They just want Israel gone. But there's no way the adjacent groups are going to let this go on without getting involved. So you got anarchists, communists, a lot of groups that are a lot more volatile, and that's what police departments are worried about.
Well, and maybe university presidents should be too. Ivy League presidents who resigned amidst the protest, we have a list of them here, from Penn, Harvard, Cornell, and Columbia. So what would the new university presidents do differently this year than before?
So they've started. A number of the schools have actually put in mandatory training for new students that are coming in or returning. You have to take a class on essentially the First Amendment, but also what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And the thing that they really seem to be trying to hold the line on is encampments. They don't want those permanent encampments where you got kids entrenched and now you got to peel them out. Here's an interesting thing that's also going on relative to prophylactic. Students for Justice in Palestine is one of the groups that's been very involved in the protesting. Their Instagram account.
They're gonna fucking say it's backed by Iran with zero evidence. Do they not understand civil disobedience is literally breaking the law for a moral cause? Yeah, 100%. Bro, until labor unions back this stuff more aggressively, there's not going to be enough momentum on this, I don't think.
Account has been one of the ways that the groups have been able to coordinate. Well, the number of those chapters of the Students for Justice Palestine have had their Instagram accounts suspended, taken down. Columbia is one of them. Looks like there's a couple of other schools. The same thing happened all at once. That can't be an accident. So you got to wonder, is it relative to what we see going on in Telegram, where the French just pinched the guy that runs Telegram? So, and that is the same issue, because Telegram was another way that these groups coordinated. So you're seeing a number of things. I'm not sure the Telegram thing is directly related to this, but it's part of a trend here where the comms, the communications, are being either shut down or closely scrutinized.
What happened to that fucking TikTok ban, by the way? Speaking of which, speaking of Telegram, what happened to that fucking TikTok ban? Did Vietnam War protest groups in the 60s get accused of being Vietnam-funded groups or anything like that? Yes. Not Vietnam-funded, but yeah, funded by communists. What do you think the Red Scare was, Megaphonics? That's literally 100%. Civil rights movement was straight up considered a communist movement, communist-backed movement, Vietnam protest, communist-backed movement. Every single time people have been on the right side of history, the American government has tried to violently squash these popular revolutionary sentiments and have considered it to be anti-American, anti-Christian, and also communist. There is some truth to that, by the way, but they also said the USSR was funding it. Gay rights, every single fucking instance of hard-fought civil rights movements have been considered to be communist and anti-American.
Because some illegality is coming out of them and there's liability there.
Do you think any of those students protesting for Palestine would be able to explain why the Hamas was holding a Bedouin man for the last...
Yes, it's pretty simple. Because they're not... You made up the idea that these guys are simply operating on anti-Semitism. He's Israeli. He's an Israeli citizen. That's why they are using him as leverage. That's it. That's it. That's literally it. It's because he's Israeli. Like, it does not matter to a Palestinian resistance group whether you are Muslim, Bedouin, Arab, doesn't fucking matter. Whether you're Jewish, it's because you're Israeli. That's it.
11 months, father of 7. This is not a Jewish guy. He was an Israeli citizen. The Israelis rescued him. This morning, I was listening to The Daily, and the host, I think she misspoke, but she said, well, yesterday when the hostage was released. Like, no, ma'am, he's not released.
Yeah,
he was rescued. And I don't think those students have any idea.
As you and I have said in the past,
It's so funny that they're like, this literally makes complete sense to anyone who understands the situation. He's an Israeli citizen. That's it. That's literally it. He was an Israeli citizen and a guard in one of the kibbutzim. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
Most of the students protesting, or at least very many of them, couldn't find Gaza on a map of Gaza. And they wouldn't know a Bedouin if he sat on their heads. All right. So this is a lot of this. Having been out there, I was embedded with.
Did he say if it when referring to a Bedouin?
Their heads. All right. Find Gaza on a map of Gaza. And they wouldn't know a Bedouin if he sat on their heads.
Oh,
all right.
He said he. No,
so
he didn't say
this
it.
is a lot of this. Having been out there, I was embedded with a lot of them last week out at the DNC. A lot of them, this is just a flavor of the day. You know, you can see the distinction if you're up close between the various gripe groups and who really, really cares. You can see the people who have a real vested interest in Gaza, and you can see the others that are just kind of along for the ride because it's this year's flavor. But the bottom line is, Colombia didn't expel anybody from last year. All the charges, for the most part, were dropped against everybody, including the ones who vandalized and occupied Hamilton Hall.
And held the custodian hostage.
Wow, I can't believe they didn't criminally prosecute students for protesting against genocide. Okay, that's crazy. They should do that, I say, on Fox News, the #1 defender of free speech. For years and years and years, these fucking assholes openly talked about how Nazis have to speak. Nazis have to fucking speak on college campuses. They have to. It's free speech. Now, they're like, oh no, the real anti-Semitism is anti-genocide protesters. That's the real anti-Semitism, and they have to be killed. They have to be served the death penalty, okay? For doing what? Having anti-genocide protests.
And held a custodian hostage and was never charged for any of those crimes. They were not charged.
And he wasn't even a student.
He wasn't a student. And, you know, no kidnapping, no unlawful imprisonment, no charges like that. And Bragg's out was, we don't have enough evidence. Meanwhile, it's all on film. But that goes to the masks, by the way. And they should pass that mask law.
Is that imminent?
It's possible. But, of course, you know, there are vested interests who don't want it because they say it's going to still the First Amendment. The bottom line is, this has the potential for being an October surprise for the election because nationwide, this could get messy.
I expect that Dana Bash will be asking Kamala Harris about it tomorrow. And Tim Walz, because he's going to be there too.
You think that's coming up?
Did the U.S. have a similar reaction to student protests against South African apartheid? It was nowhere near as like, I think it was nowhere near as organized. South Africa did not have its like, the South African government did not have like its allegiances and its like loyalists in the same way that like Israel does. Okay. And part of that is because Israel, ironically enough, like the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, was working alongside the South African apartheid regime and spying on protesters, which included trade unionists and even Jewish protesters as well that were against South African apartheid. What's really interesting about it is that Israel seemingly learned from the mistakes that the South African apartheid regime made in terms of like conducting Western propaganda, ensuring that this doesn't happen again. But beyond that, Israel also is directly tied to the interests of like the American stock market. So like the cross-pollination of Israeli interests and American interests are significantly more ever present than like the South African interests were. There are a multitude of different factors at play here. One of which is, some of the factors I just mentioned. Another one is like universities have become even more financialized. Like they are financial institutions. They're basically hedge funds. And a lot of those hedge funds are directly invested in Israel. So divestment from South Africa carried a weight to it, right? A financial punishment that these institutions would occur, but and so did obviously divesting from Russia, which was a non-starter because it happened to be America's foreign adversary, if you recall. And now this divestment call is significantly larger in terms of incurring financial punishments when you're talking about Israel.